Hello guys, if you are a movie enthusiast you are welcome in the Park of Movies. In this park you can get global film summaries in a short time, to save time, with simple and easy explanation of the film events in a respectful, polite and high-end style. Let's go. Today's film begins with a person entering a gang headquarters and killing everyone he meets mercilessly, until he got inside the headquarters. There he found big fierce men, and there was a fight. And here we know that the person who killed all these men is a girl called Sakehi. She beat them up with all her strength and killed them all. When she got out of headquarters she met the police, and they arrested her. Now we move to the South Korean intelligence building, where there was a group of officers who watched all the fighting that happened between Sakehi and the gangsters on CCTV. They were very surprised by her experience and courage in fighting. There was a commander among the officers who said we could take advantage of her skill and courage. Sakehi woke up and found herself in a strange place she had never seen before, and then lost consciousness again. This was because the guards who spray a drug inside her room make her lose consciousness at the time they bring her food. In order for Sakehi to not resist them, they know how strong she is. She was seeing them, but she had no mobility because of the drug. And when they come out, they pull the drug out of the air, and here Sakehi wakes up to eat normally. One day they did a cosmetic procedure in order to change the shape of Sakehi. After a while, Sakehi heard the guards coming to her, and when they sprayed the drug, Sakehi muffled her breath and acted like she was unconscious like every time. She remembered someone called Agashi who trained her to hold breath underwater, and she could muffle her breath for more than 6 minutes. When the guards came in to take her, Sakehi preceded them and beat them. Then she went out to run away, but she was surprised to find a bunch of girls learning ballet. She was shocked by this, but she completed running, and this time she found herself among a group of girls learning to cook. One of them was a girl who dropped Sakehi on the floor, and all the girls were mocking her. Sakehi got up from the ground, and she took someone hostage in order to point her on the way out. But he wasn't satisfied with it and didn't tell her anything. Sakehi took him with her and tried to find the way out herself. And this time she watched people practice on the stage. They were also looking at her and laughing. She left them and opened another door, and this time she found girls learning beauty. But the leader was there between them, and she acted like an ordinary girl. She took Sakehi to the exit of the building, and then threw herself in order to earn Sakehi's confidence. Here, Sakehi cut the hostage's leg to the knife in order not to catch her up. When she wanted to run, the commander shot her shoulder, and the guards arrested her again. Now we move into the CCTV room. The officers were watching everything Sakehi did. After a big discussion between them they came to a decision. They have to commission someone to observe Sakehi in particular. Most of them dodged because they were afraid of her strength, but there was an officer named Hyun-soo who admired her and her skills. So he agreed to keep an eye on her. We now move to Sakehi. She was sitting with the leader that she's showing her the paper, and told her there was news in the paper about her death. This thing means there's no human named Sakehi in life. The leader offered Sakehi to work with them, but Sakehi refused and told her to kill her. Sakehi did not want to live or work with them. Captain told Sakehi that she was pregnant, and she certainly didn't want to kill her baby. Then she tightened Sakehi up hard and told her you should live for your baby. Sakehi didn't know she was pregnant and said to the leader, "What do you want from me?" The leader offered her an agreement. She said, "We're going to assign you some operations that you have to carry out. You have to stay in the service of the agency for 10 years, and then you take your freedom." Sakehi agreed on this. Sakehi tried to practice cooking and cosmetic, but the leader told her that she didn't do no good in cooking and not in beautification, and then she asked her anything she could do. Sakehi remained silent, but one of her colleagues said to her, "You're beautiful. You can try acting." Sakehi went to the agency theater to watch, and she found herself impressed with acting, and she was able to master it. Months later Sakehi was born, and had a girl named Yeonhae. Officer Hyun-soo watched her intensely, and every day that passed he checked with her and loved her more. One day baby Yeonhae was crying alone in the room, and Officer Hyun-soo went to her and gave her a game to calm her down, because he knew that her mother was in training. Now we move to Sakehi. During training one of her cocky colleagues called Kemsun asked her to duel. Sakehi didn't listen to her. She left her and she went, but Kemsun came from behind Sakehi and tried to hit her with sticks. And here Sakehi picked up the stick and hit her with great force. And this time the commander and officers were watching this with joy. After a while Sakehi's colleagues came in and they had cakes because Yeonhae's birthday had come. The leader walked in after them, and Sakehi thanked her for this beautiful encounter. At this time Officer Hyun-soo took a picture of Sakehi and her daughter. The next day, doctors removed Sakehi's tattoo, and then she remembered when Agashi painted it for her, and she was very happy with it, because she wanted to become like Agashi who she considered her role model. At that time, Agashi asked her about her father's killer, and Sakehi told him that she didn't know him, and that she lived only for revenge against her father's killer. She also remembered the day she would have retaliated against the person she considered her father's killer. But this person set a trap for her. He grabbed her and then tied her up and told her, "I didn't kill your father. I went to steal the jewel, but your father was dead at that time." And by the time he wanted to hit her, Agashi came and killed everyone there and saved her. The next day, there was training on quickly installing gun parts between Sakehi and her colleague. The laws of this training say that whoever rides the weapon first shoots the other. Sakehi remembered when she was young. At that time Agashi worked the same training between her and a big man. She got on the gun faster than the guy, but she couldn't shoot him. When the man installed his weapon, he would shoot Sakehi, but Agashi was faster than him and killed him. Sakehi quickly installed the gun and shot a colleague. It all happened in front of the eyes of the officers who bet on the winner of the training. They had an officer looking for his wallet, and saw Officer Hyensu's note in which he wrote every little and big about Sakehi. Whatever she loves and hates. They understood that Officer Hyensu admired Sakehi, but he told them that he was studying her personality so thoroughly because he wanted to take a promotion at work. After a long time, the leader gave Sakehi her first assignment and told her that if she succeeded, she would come out of the agency and complete her work abroad as an ordinary citizen. Sakehi rode her motorcycle and went to carry out her mission, but the person Sakehi was going to kill wasn't sleeping as she thought. She found him awake and resisted her, and after a fierce fight between them, Sakehi could kill him, but the shock was that she saw his daughter watch her father's murder. This is where Sakehi remembered her father who hid her under the bed when she was little, and then two men came to kill him and take his body with them. Suddenly, the men of the person Sakehi killed pursued her with motorcycles and cars. She ran away from them with great difficulty and then threw herself into the water and held her breath. And here she remembered her father when he was sitting with his friend at sea, and he showed her a precious gem and told her that this gem would be her wedding gift. Immediately after that, her father was killed and someone was looking for this jewel. And when he looked under the bed, he found Sakehi and took her. He was hitting her and wanted to assault her, but just in time Agashi came and saved her from him and then killed him. Suddenly he heard a voice, and when he looked he found that Sakehi had killed one of the guards who wanted to kill Agashi. Since then, Sakehi has become living with Agashi, whom she considered a role model, as I told you earlier. Anyway, Sakehi got out of the water, and she found the captain who was watching her while she was on her mission. Then Sakehi walked out of the agency as promised by the leader. She gave her all the documents and the new identity, and then delivered her to her new home and gave her a photo to hang at her house. Sakehi rode in the elevator of the building with Officer Hyensu in charge of monitoring her. They hit each other and Hyensu's stuff fell to the ground, and very quickly he put his picture in Sakehi's bag without she seeing him. Hyensu told Sakehi he was her neighbor. He knew her himself and told her his wife had died 3 years ago. She told him that her husband was a traveler. Sakehi had hung the photo that the leader had given her, and it was the same photo that Officer Hyensu had taken of Sakehi on her daughter's birthday. Sakehi had ordered a pizza and found that Officer Hyensu brought her in. Sakehi questioned Hyensu's actions and his heightened interest. She called the leader and asked her to know everything about him. Then she found his picture with his wife in her bag and took it to him. She knew from him that he lived with his wife in a city in China. It was the same city that Sakehi lived in, and then he asked her what her name was, and she said her new name, Unso. Then the commander called her and told her that her neighbor was 33, widowed 3 years ago, and his wife died in armed robbery and was pregnant. The next day Sakehi was with her daughter in the supermarket. She met with Hyensu, and he started playing with her daughter, and she was a joy. Then they came home with some. One day Sakehi was back from work, and the rain was heavy. When she got off the bus and found Hyensu waiting for her and blocked the rain from her, she started to like him and his interest in her. She told him she was an actress, and she intended him to watch a play that she was the heroine of. Hyensu started to equip himself in order to go to the play. He read in his memo that Sakehi loved black tie, so he put it on and went to the theater. Then they went to dinner and told her she was a great actress. The black tie caught Sakehi's attention. She remembered when she brought one like her to her husband Agashi a gift on their wedding day. Now we know that Agashi is Saki's husband. Anyway, on honeymoon Agashi left Sakehi and went for revenge and killed her father's killer. But unfortunately Agashi died, and one of his men brought his body to Sakehi. After dinner, Sakehi told Hyensu that her husband was dead, not traveling as she told him earlier, and they started a love affair. Then someone called Sakehi. She left Hyensu with her daughter at home and went. The call was from her closest colleague at the agency. She went to her and was happy to meet her. The colleague told Sakehi that she had received the first assignment. She told her that if she succeeded, she would complete her work outside the agency like her. Then she asked her for help, and of course Sakehi agreed to help her. So Sakehi went with her colleague to carry out the operation. Sakehi stole the wanted person's phone and then walked into the bathroom and relayed all the information in the phone on a private chip. When she came out, she found them with the knife on her colleague's neck. She gave them the phone in order to leave her colleague, but they did not leave her. When Sakehi tried to defend her, someone hit Saki's colleague on the neck. Sakehi took her and went to the commander to go to the hospital, but the leader took the slide from her and she blamed Sakehi for the guilt of her colleague. The colleague looked at Sakehi and she was trying to tell her, "You're not the reason," and then she died. Sakehi came home screaming and crying, heartbroken at her friend. Hyeon-soo saw her and consoled her. Now moving to the agency, they were studying the information that was on the slide. All the information was indicating the man who killed Sakehi's husband, and they reached a decision that Sakehi was going to kill him. Sakehi met the leader and told her that she was getting married, so that if something happened to her, there would be someone to take care of her daughter. The leader agreed to this and she wished her a happy life. On her wedding day, her cocky colleague Kemson went to her and gave her the phone because the leader wanted to talk to her. The commander told her to go to the bathroom and you'll find a weapon. Sakehi has to take the gun and kill the guy who wears glasses. Sakehi shot him, but the bullet hit the glasses. She looked at the man accurately and was surprised he was her husband Agashi. When she was talking to the commander, she asked her who she was going to kill, but the commander didn't tell her. She told her all you had to do was kill the guy and put the gun back in his place. She remembered when her husband died. She took his weapon from the body, and her husband's assistant took her to the scene of the gang that killed him. And it was the same place where we saw Sakehi attack the gang in the first of film, where she was avenging her husband Agashi's death. But now Sakehi understood that her husband Agashi pulled her into the trap and wanted to kill her. Agashi went at night to the same bathroom that Sakehi was in and found traces of the weapon there. Then he watched Sakehi's wedding on surveillance cameras and felt he knew her. Days later, Sakehi was on stage and watched Agashi look at her. After the acting ended, she went out with his husband Hyeon-soo for dinner at the restaurant. Hyeon-soo got a phone call and went to the bathroom to answer the call. Agashi used this opportunity and went to Sakehi to talk to her. She dealt with him on the grounds that she did not know him and he regretted her because he thought of her as a girl he knew. Hyeon-soo was talking to the leader and told her that killing someone at her wedding was difficult for her. And there was one of Agashi's men watching Hyeon-soo's call. Agashi heard all the call and recorded it, and then remembered his first day with his wife Sakehi and her insistence on revenge against her father's killer. The next day, a flower bouquet came to Sakehi with a card and a flash. Here the cocky colleague Kemson told Sakehi that she was going to complete the job that Sakehi didn't succeed, and then she went. Sakehi moved away from CCTV in order to turn on the flash. She heard Hyeon-soo's call with the leader, and he knew he was an agent he married for his mission. She directly texted the number in the card and told him that her cocky colleague Kemson was coming to kill him. And indeed, Kemson fell into the trap of Agashi's guards who were waiting for her. Agashi came and hit her, and then took her necklace from her because it was a hidden camera. After this, the leader went to Sakehi and took her hostage in order to save Kemson. Because Sakehi is Agashi's wife who considers her dead, she sent a letter to Agashi in order to replace the hostages. Hyeon-soo called the commander and asked her about Sakehi, because she didn't respond to him. The commander lied to him and told him she was sick, and she recommended you take care of the little girl in her absence. So Hyeon-soo went to pick up the child from custody, and someone was watching him. At this time the leader took Sakehi in order to replace the hostages, but suddenly they had an accident and Agashi's men started shooting them. Commander ran away and Agashi went to Sakehi, who told him she had to save her daughter. Agashi drove her home and gave her a gun to protect herself. She took the gun and went running to her house, but unfortunately she arrived and watched the house explode. Hyeon-soo fell out the window and Sakehi's daughter was in his lap. Sakehi couldn't believe it. She cradled her dead daughter in tears. Then Hyeon-soo died after that. Sakehi went to the leader to kill her because she killed her daughter. The leader showed her the camera recordings and everything that happened in detail, and how her daughter died. Sakehi understood that it was Agashi's men who killed her daughter. The leader told her that Hyeon-soo didn't marry her for the job. He already loved her. Days later, Sakehi was in the car watching Agashi's men. She was shocked when she saw them grab her father's jewel. She now understood that it was Agashi who killed her father. She started the car and hit them at full speed, and then there was a fiery clash between her and Agashi's men, and she killed them all. In the latter, she confronted Agashi, confronted her father's killer who she did not expect to be the one who did her, and he married her just in order to get the jewel. And when he knew she didn't know where the jewel was, he tried to kill her and get rid of her. They started fighting with each other, and then they fell out of the nets. Agashi's men friend came and took him because the cops were on their way here. Sakehi went after them, but a car came and hit her. At this time Agashi's men got on a big bus and ran away. Sakehi got in the car and then caught the bus, and she could climb it. She got on the bus and fought Agashi's men and killed them all. She then killed his assistant, who was the closest person to him, and she finally confronted Agashi, who stabbed her in the shoulder. But Sakehi didn't give up and resisted. Suddenly she hit the hand of the driver, who was aggrieved and lost control of the bus, and she flipped, and here Sakehi killed Agashi and avenged her father. When she got off the bus, the police found the place. Sakehi laughed, because the same stops were repeated with her. And here, my loved ones, have come to the end of this film. I hope it has impressed you. We meet in the next video. Bye bye.